Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, and liberals are besides themselves. They can't believe that after over a year of a barrage of 24/7 of the most negative coverage imaginable against a world leader, Vladimir Putin's approval rating has actually reached its highest ever here in the United States. We're going to see that approval rating. We're going to see what's behind its surge. And we're going to find out how a comparable conservative renaissance in Russia is actually happening here as well. While Vladimir Putin's popularity in Russia is widely recognized, it seems that our ruling elite are being taken aback by the latest polling here in the United States. As it turns out, President Putin's popularity has reached an all-time high among Americans, this according to the latest polling from YouGov. Right now, Putin has the support and backing of 21% of Americans. That's up from 15% back in 2021 before the war with Ukraine. So Putin's popularity among Americans has actually gone up since the invasion in February 2022. Who would have ever thought of that? Well, you certainly don't hear that on CNN. We've had a nonstop Operation Mockingbird media pushing the most virulent anti-Russian, anti-Putin propaganda imaginable. And Putin's approval ratings have gone up. And this rise in popularity for Putin in the States, of course, reflects an even more dramatic rise in Russia, just over a month since the invasion. President Vladimir Putin's approval rating hit its highest level ever inside of Russia. This came from data compiled by the independent polling firm called Levada Center. Putin clocked in at an astonishing 83% approval rating. And interestingly, the last time his approval rating hit around that mark was back in 2014, just after Russia had annexed Crimea. And what's so fascinating here is that studies have found that the Russian people are standing by Putin as part of an international backlash against the woke West. Putin, for right or for wrong, he has effectively weaponized anti-woke sentiment among the Russian population, and I would add among the vast majority of the non-Western world. And he's galvanized them to understand the conflict in Ukraine as a confrontation with the woke West. Listen to how Putin described the West in his recent State of the Union speech.
It cannot ignore the fact that Russia cannot be defeated on the battlefield. So they're waging increasingly aggressive information attacks. First of all, targeting the young generations, lying on every step, distorting historical truth, attacking our culture, the Russian Orthodox Church, and other traditional religious institutions in our country. Now look at what they're doing with their own peoples. They're destroying the institution of family, their cultural and historical identity, and various perversions with regard to children up to pedophilia are accepted as the new norm, and priests are forced to recognize and officiate same-sex weddings. People can live however they want, and we in Russia have never intruded into people's private life. And we're not going to do that. But what we want to say is maybe they should take a look in the scripture, into the holy book of any great religion. It says that the family is a union between woman and man. And these holy texts are now being increasingly doubted in the West. The Anglican Church is now considering the idea of a gender-neutral God. What can we say? God forgive them. They don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I think they do know what they're doing. I think he's being too kind there. Now, what Putin just said there is precisely what Jordan Peterson has been talking about of late. He recognized that Putin's successful weaponization of anti-woke sentiment is a civilizational weaponization. It's not so much a political weaponization for his own advantage in Russia or an ideological weaponization per se. It's a civilizational weaponization. That is, Putin has effectively galvanized not just the whole of the non-Western world against the woke West, but he's galvanized even 21% of the American people to take his side against wokeness. And again, all of this just goes to show how much civilizational language is resonating with more and more people today. The clash between the rising re-traditionalist world and the waning woke world is for Putin, and as it turns out for hundreds of millions, if not billions of others around the world, a thoroughly civilizationalist clash. It's a clash between two mutually exclusive civilizations, one that promises to be a brave new progressive world guided by absurdity and insanity versus thousand-year-old religious-based civilizations like Holy Russia, guided by the bedrock of conservative tradition. Now, again, you can think this is all just a bunch of bunk, but it's resonating dramatically with the Russian people, and more than that, obviously. You understand, Putin has been speaking like this since 2012. Scholars noted it was right around that time when his speeches took a very stark civilizationalist turn. He was arguing that Russia was in a great civilizational struggle with a decadent and decaying West, and the Ukrainian war is ground zero of that civilizational struggle. So what's going on here? What accounts for 21% of the American public siding with Putin? Well, again, I think the answer is going to blow your mind. But first, gang, I got to tell you, I was utterly shocked when I was recently shown just how easy it is to access the deed to my house, and not just access it, but change it. I mean, if you don't know, the deed to your home is the only document that proves you own it. But the problem is that the deeds to all our homes are now online, and criminals are free to find our deeds, forge our signatures, refile as the new owner of our homes, take out tons of loans using our home's equity, and then stick us with the debt. And by the way, if you think homeowners insurance is going to bail you out, you got another thing coming. But that's where our good friends over at Home Title Lock come in. Gang, they're absolutely amazing. Home Title Lock gives you the peace of mind that the deed to your home is absolutely and completely protected. Click on that link below right now and use promo code Turley Talks. Then all you have to do is enter your address for your no obligation home title scan to see if you've already been a victim of deed theft. I mean, that's $100 value, absolutely and totally free if you use my promo code Turley Talks. Gang, don't wait for the worst to happen only to regret that you didn't do something about it when you could have. Click on that link below right now and secure your home today. Pundits are increasingly recognizing that Christian nationalism is surging throughout our country, a surge that I would argue is animated by comparable dynamics going on in Putin's Russia. A recent study from the Public Religion Research Institute asked 5,000 respondents representing all 50 states whether they agreed or disagreed with a series of statements such as, the U.S. government should declare America a Christian nation. U.S. law should be based on Christian values. If the U.S. moves away from our Christian foundations, we will not have a country anymore. Being Christian is an important part of being truly American. And finally, God has called Christians to exercise dominion over all areas of American society. The results were particularly terrifying for secular liberals. According to the study, 30% of the American public either agrees or strongly agrees with every single one of those statements. 30%. Now, that is some very interesting overlap with this 21% that express approval of Vladimir Putin. You see, I would argue it's all part of a wider phenomenon known as re-traditionalization, where more and more populations are returning to nation, culture, custom, and tradition, most particularly our religious traditions, as mechanisms of resistance against liberal globalism and its anti-cultural secular aristocracy. It's not just happening in Russia. It's happening all over the world. India, the Middle East, Sub-Saharan Africa, Hungary, Poland, even China, perhaps most especially in China. They're all reviving their foundational pre-modern religious traditions in response to the implosion of liberal modernist globalism and resistance to woke leftism's persistence. And as it turns out, those same retraditionalizing dynamics that are awakening a far more conservative, multipolar world where the ancient civilizations of old are rising and returning, those very same dynamics, as it turns out, are just as operative here in the United States. And so it's no surprise that we're seeing a renewed Christian nationalism surging throughout the nation, as well as a rising support of those world leaders who defend the same abroad. As always, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. You'll definitely want to check out my latest video on Bud Light sales plummeting, all as Anheuser Busch loses billions in yet another victim of Get Woke, Go Broke. You're not going to want to miss this. So make sure to click on the link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.